Hello, I'm Boyd Clack. The first thing I'd like to make clear is that I am a reincarnation of Heinrich Ibsen, the great Scandinavian playwright. And I've been aware of that for the last 40 years. At one point, Ibsen's spirit appeared to me and told me that I was carrying on his work in the modern world. He was off his rocker. You know, the funny thing about Ibsen, he had this great rivalry with August Strindberg. But my great rivalry is with no one, because I'm not a competitive person. We're talking about my autobiography, which is Kisses Sweeter Than Wine, which is being a new edition is coming out at the moment, I believe, from Parthian. It's about my life, obviously. I was born in Canada, but I was brought up in Torrevel in the valleys. After my father died, my family came back to Wales, because he was Welsh, but he fought in the Second World War and died. And I was brought up in Torrevel during the 50s and the 60s, which is a very strange time. The aftermath of World War II was everywhere. It resonated. There were a lot of people who'd actually fought in the war, and they were back, there were people who'd been damaged by it. But the entire society, funnily enough, even to this day, the resonance of the Second World War, in a way, is steeped into the psyche of the British and the Welsh people. The 50s I pretty much liked. I was only a child during the 50s, but there was something about it I really liked. It was, I used to like going to church and playing up the field with my friend Melville. Church is a strange thing because religion was very strong in Wales in those days, and everyone went to church. I went to church 3 times on a Sunday. I was in the choir, St David's Church in Torrevel. In the afternoons we had Sunday school, which I really liked because they'd ask you questions about the Bible, and if you got them right, they'd give you little stamps with a picture of Jesus or something on them, which delighted me. I used to watch a lot of television at the time, and I used to watch Robin Hood, and it was on a Sunday afternoon. Anyway, I used to have to leave at 6:15 to get to church, so I never saw the second half of Robin Hood. And when I left, evil was always in the ascendancy, because it was in the second half that Robin would sort things out. Therefore, I was brought up with this idea that evil was in the ascendancy, and when you saw evil in the ascendancy, you had to leave to go to church, which is sort of a weird thing to be brought up with, isn't it? 10 years ago, I had my autobiography published, Kisses Sweeter Than Wine, which is a fact. And it's being re-brought out at the moment in a Parthian series of books called The Modern Wales, of which, of course, I'm a pulsating part. The first book ended after I left drama college, so it had none of my life since then, since becoming a professional actor. And people often ask me when I'm going to write the second half. I will do it one day, but it's a very difficult thing to write because a lot of the people involved are still about. The name's Clack, Boyd Clack, and you are little creatures, little tiny creatures, and I like you. I like you all. That's me. I went to live in Amsterdam, been in Australia living, came back, formed the Lemmings, and we were formed with the sort of on the back of the punk movement, although we were never a punk band. The only thing we had in common with a lot of punk bands is we couldn't play. We were rubbish. Amsterdam in the winter is the most beautiful place. And the canals are covered in ice and the trees are stripped bare. I used to think they looked like witches standing along the sides of the canal. That's because, Amsterdam, you tend to smoke a lot of dope. I mean, there's no one in Amsterdam doesn't, and that was the nature of the thing then. Worked during the days, did a lot of gigs around the place. That photograph actually was taken as a gig in a place called Os. That's the young me. I always remember that exact gig, walking on stage, and the music would go. And when it went, I passed out. Immediately before the gig started, I just slumped to the ground. And so they had to stop the music and revive me. But then we carried on doing the gig, and it was a good gig. And I remember this guy coming up and bugging me during the song. And Furry Freak Dave just walking up to him, tapping him on the shoulder, whispering something, and the guy just left. He left the entire place, which I find quite funny, because I'm a wuss myself, but it was nice of 30 Click Dave. He's not a man you'd argue with,